Ladies and gentlemen, oh, back up, beep, beep. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that's kind of a funny noise. Anyway, we got a show for you today. Okay. I've had some cool people on this show, some very cool people. Mark Farner, Sandy Gennaro, Amy Basford. But as far as personal influences, this guy, he's the top. He's the top. Before I say his name, I have in my hand, first of all, the Spider-Man approved clipboard containing the Spider-Man approved questions. Spider-Man was here the night before the interview, and we went over these questions together. Please don't tell Spider-Man that I believe Marissa Tomei's got a little thing for me. You know, his aunt in the movie. I think she does. I'm not sure. I wouldn't blame her. I'm not sure. Anyway, Marissa, this show's for you. Anyway, so, you know, in the world of rock, who hasn't this gentleman played for? Rod Stewart? Yeah, he has. Jeff Beck? Yeah. Ozzy Osbourne? Check. Yes, he has. And a host of others. But the name I'm going to mention to you now is the name that'll give it away. And I'm going to go ahead and mention it because this particular band that he was a part of really helped to shape what came later. Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, all of that really came, or was better to say, was influenced by this band. And that band is none other than Vanilla Fudge. And who do we have on today but their drummer? Carmine Appice. I'm telling you folks, I was so excited to know that he was coming on the show. You know, and for the first time, Walter Wannabe, my producer, you know, he's just up there, but he did a good job. He did a good job on the phones and everything. Anyway, get out of here. So, I know, I hope Carmine doesn't mind. I get a little silly with this stuff, but with no further ado, we want to get right to the interview because it was such a great interview. It was such a fun time. He was such an influence on my drumming style and so many others. So many others, and we'll talk about that. He's one of the most influential drummers in the universe. So without further ado, first we're going to do a few clips and then we're going to go right into the interview because I just want you to see him play. Ladies and gentlemen, musicians on couches drinking coffee presents to you today, Carmine Appice. Appice, how are you?
Appice.
Appice, okay.
It's Vinnie Appice.
I talked to my cousin, try to get the right pronunciation because everybody says it different. And my cousin's Rob Wallace. You know him.
Yeah, I know Rob, of course.
Yeah, he's my cousin. He's about 10 years older than me, but he's my cousin through marriage.
Okay, good.
He married Marianne, who
I
is
like Rob.
a
Good
cousin.
guy.
Yeah. So that's how this all came to be. Well, let me give you a formal welcome to Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee. Except today I don't have.
What is the name of this?
The name of the show is called Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which I stole directly from Jerry Seinfeld with community
Oh, that's funny.
drinking coffee, and this is my version. And we've had a couple of great people.
Now is it video or audio?
This is video and audio.
Okay, because I'm gonna be walking around for a minute. I have to grab something.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, so we can.
And,
we can
and
we can
our-
tour
our
my
last-
apartment here.
Our last big guest last month was Mark Farner.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's a good friend.
All right.
I like Mark. He's a good friend.
Yeah,
Just
Mark
my
was
nose,
pretty-
my nose feels dry here with the heat.
I got to tour with him a little bit.
Yeah, Mark is a good dude. I like him.
Yeah. So
I
let
was
me
just
know.
talking to a guy that managed him for a while. You know.
Oh yeah.
So
So let me know when you're a little settled, and we can do this whole thing.
let's go. I'm
All
ready.
right, here we go. So you came to the planet on December 15th, 1946. That's your birthday, correct?
Yep.
Cool. And I wanted to ask you because obviously your brother Vinnie plays too, and so were your parents like real motivators for you guys to get into music?
No,
Were they players?
no.
Not at
It
all.
just happened. My cousin Joey was a drummer, and we used to, Italian family, go over everybody's house, and holidays, I go over there, play his drums, go home, bang on the pots, and ends up on my father's side of the family, the 7 drummers, some cousins.
Oh
and
wow.
everything. Yeah, so I don't know what if it was in the blood,
Right.
of the Appice family,
Yeah.
or Appice, however you want to say it.
I will say it the way you want me to say
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, I started saying Appice when I went with Rod because everybody said Appice, 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 all these different names. Rod said, you're like 5 different people. Pick
Yeah.
away. He said, what do most people call you? I said, most people call me Appice.
So
So he said, well, why don't we go with that? I said, okay, let's go with that.
So I was born in Yonkers. Where are you from originally? Because I hear the New York
Brooklyn.
accent.
Brooklyn.
All right.
Yeah.
And so, are you still living in New York? Or are you living now?
No, well, we have an apartment here in New York. My girlfriend is the radio chick. You know who that is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my wife, really. We've been together 19 years. So basically, she has this apartment that, when we started becoming, an item, she bought the apartment next door. So we have like 2,700 square feet here in Manhattan,
So
but we live in Florida. We moved to Florida.
all right.
That's what we're
Right.
residents of Florida now. So
I actually may be moving to the Fort Myers area in about 6 months because I'm getting
you'll love it.
I'm getting a little
Great
tired.
area.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice.
Where are you now?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you, Florida is a lot better than Michigan.
Yeah. I can tell you that. It definitely is.
I love it. I mean, I love it. I got a studio in there. That's how I did this Appice Perdomo record, which is
Right.
APB, the app.
We're gonna talk about that record. It's a real good record, but I want to get into your past a little bit because that's what this is about. We like to just talk about all sorts of things. Anyway, when did you start like gigging in New York coming up? Was it just local garage bands? Like this is pre-Vanilla Fudge. When did it start?
I've been playing all my teens from 13 on.
13. Wow.
I mean, I played my first gig when I was about 13 up in Canada, up in the Bronx. There's a dance.
Wow.
I got $7.50.
The clubs don't pay much more than that now, unfortunately.
Well, you're right.
Yeah, I did a little story. I did my first gig with my first pro gig at the Pleasantville Dinner Theater. I got fake ID. I was 16. I did Godspell.
Well, yeah, I did that too.
Yeah.
My brother was older than me, my older brother Frank. So I used to use his draft card.
Oh.
Yeah, like when I went to see Gene Krupa in Metropole in New York, you had to be 18. I used his draft card to get in. That's when I met Dino Danelli. Dino Dinoli was in a band that opened up for Gene Krupa at the Metro Club.
Oh,
No, that was like 1961, 2, something like that, you know?
so you're gigging around town, and then so how does the is Vanilla Fudge your first real
Yes.
national act?
Well, national act, but I played, around gigs, and, I played gigs, and we played opposite Jimi Hendrix in New York here, and clubs, shitholes, actually
right.
Upper West Side here on 77th and Broadway. I'm on 70th and Broadway, and back in, 1963, it was like Panic in Needle Park, that movie. It was drug
Right.
addicts and hookers and gay guys and lesbians and gang leaders, and it was just terrible. And that's what we played at an R&B band. We played there with opposite Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. We played there for like a week opposite each other, smoking pot on the
Right.
on the when we were off, talking. And Jimmy talked about making it.
Jimmy James.
Stuff like that. But that was another day. Before that, I played weddings, bar mitzvahs, and all that. When I was 17, I bought a brand new '64 Chevy in '64,
all right.
327 Super Sport, with the money I made from playing. I put
Wow.
$1,250 down on it. Cost $2,900 with tax and everything, and I paid off the rest every month, $70 a month, and I paid it off.
Vanilla
Yeah,
Fudge.
so then we would be playing with the band that I played with Hendrix. We were playing in a club in Jersey. It was like 1966. They had different incarnations of that band. Sometimes it was a 4-piece, sometimes it was 7-piece with horns. So at the time, we were playing with the 4-piece, and Mark Stein and Tim Bogert came into the Choo Choo Club in Jersey, which is where the Rascals started. And they came in, and we took a break, and they come up to say, "Hi, I'm Mark and Tim, and we have a band called the Pigeons, and we're looking for a drummer, and we just watch you play, and you seem to have everything we need in the drummer. We have technical, and you sing, and got a great foot and all that stuff. Would you be interested maybe in checking us out?" I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't need these guys. I'm making $200 a week. Back in
Right.
1966, $200 a week was good money. So I said, "Well, what do you play, Tim?" He said, "I play bass." I said, "Oh, I never really played with a bass player because all my bands had a left-hand organ bass, or the foot organ bass." So I said, "I'll go check it out." So I went and checked it out. And they said, "Look, our manager, he owns the Action House out here. The Vagrants are now big with Leslie West. And I used to play with the Vagrants in the city, just opposite when they first started. 1961 or 2, now it's like 66, and they got a huge following. They're doing these production numbers, which is what they called. And
Right.
that was the fad in Long Island, production numbers. The Vagrants, Billy Joel with the Hassles, the Illusions, the Rich Kids. It was all production numbers. So that's what the Pigeons wanted to do. So I played with them. They said, "Our manager who owns the Action House, which is a club that all these bands play, this guy was a mafia guy from the Goodfellas connection,
Right.
And so he put us on a salary. He said he would put us on a salary. So I played with them, and I was blown away because they were all great. Mark Stein's voice was unbelievable, and
Right.
I had the same kind of vibrato they had, because I sang doo-wop in Brooklyn. And I was like 18 years old at the time. And Tim sang like that. And I never played with a bass player, and he was phenomenal. And the guitar player was pretty good too. I said, wow. So I
It's a
thought
great
about it. I said,
band.
you know what? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I always tell them I did it. 9 months later, we had a hit on the charts. I said, "See, I joined, and you got a hit on the charts." But and then we did all the stuff that you do. We went in with that vein of music. We matched our music with the lyrics, and
Right.
I think we're the only ones of all those bands that did that. But we had more facility than everybody. We had 4 voices. They
Right.
had great, better musicians than everybody. So each band had a great musician. The Vagrant had Leslie. The Hassles had Billy Joel. The Rich Kids had Richard Super that went on to write songs for Aerosmith and stuff.
Right.
So, but we had four voices. We had better musicians. Every musician in our band was better than all the other bands.
I'll tell you, Vanilla Fudge is just one of my favorite bands of all time. And
Great. I appreciate
some of the
that.
versions you have of tunes, I mean, even your version of Eleanor Rigby,
Unbelievable.
just fantastic. And I think my personal opinion is that Vanilla Fudge is like the father in some ways to what came later, which was like Zeppelin and some of that other stuff.
Oh, without a doubt.
Kind of came out of that, which leads me to my next little point. If you look up Carmine Appice, and so if you look up on Wikipedia, Carmine Appice, it'll say that you are one of the most influential rock drummers in history, and that is absolutely true. It lists Phil Collins, Ian Pace, John Bonham, Neil Peart as they all attribute some of their playing to you. By the way, I've been teaching for 30 years, and I've been teaching out of your book,
great.
Realistic Rock Drumming. What a great book that is! For beginners, for intermediate, for advanced. What a great.
You know the cover of the book? It's
the green cover.
It's a painting. Let me show you something, okay?
All right.
I used to have Me with Drums on there, right? So
yeah.
I gotta turn the correct light on here for you. Which one is it? One of these. There you go. So then I said, I can't keep changing the drum book covers every time I change, endorsements. So
right.
Can you see that?
Oh, that's great. That's the cover.
That's the cover. It's an oil painting.
I'm going to put a clip of the actual book so they can see it right next to this when I put.
Right. That's the oil painting. My girlfriend in 1970 did that oil painting.
That's fantastic.
And they used that as the first book on that was ever printed. They used a variation. They did their own variation of that, And then finally, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to take a good picture of that cover, of that oil painting, and use that as a cover, And that's what I did. And that's been the cover for the last 8-9 years.
And I'm going to say this straight out to any other teachers that are watching this show or that watch it. If you're not teaching out of the Carmine Appice book, you're missing something. It is just one of the best rock books to teach out of. It just is.
Well, it was the first.
Yes.
It was one of the first, and like I was the first to do clinics and all that. And I had the whole rock clinic market to myself for many years.
So there's a story I heard when Zeppelin was opening up for Vanilla Fudge at some point, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And there were Bonham kind of stole one of your triplet ideas, or there's a story.
Well, but what it was on. I heard their album. We had the same attorney, and they were on the same label. And my manager, was connected to their manager, Peter Grand, who's they were both like heavyweights, And so when that album came out, before it came out, they gave us a copy and they said, we want to put that Jimmy Page's new band on with you guys. We knew Jimmy Page. We used to do gigs with the Yardbirds. So when I heard the record, I heard the triplet on Good Times, Bad Times. I said, wow, what a foot on this guy. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So on the very first gig that they played with us, I said to John, before the gig, I said, I love your foot on the record. It's unbelievable. And he said, thanks. I got that from you. I said, you did? I don't remember doing that. He said, yeah, it's right on your Vanilla Fudge record. And I said, where is that? Because, you know, in those days, we don't, still today, I don't play what I rehearse. I play
Right.
whatever comes to me when I'm doing it, you know?
Right.
So I had done it somewhere on a record. So he pointed it out. I think it was on the Renaissance record where I went bop, doo da 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 bop with the snare and the bass drum. Bop, da bop, da bop, da bop, you know? And he took it and went bop,
Yeah.
triplet, 16-note triplet with the first triplet left out. And he said, so I just got that concept from what you did and did what I did. And I said, wow. And then it entered in my head the words that Joe Morello, I read one day. He said, look, nobody has it all. We all steal from each other.
Right. We're all
wow. Yeah.
So I
So
studied with
that's it. You know, and there was a time I couldn't really talk about this because Zeppelin was so big and
Right.
people envisioned John Bonham like he was God. And you can't talk about that he got something from you because he was God. And, you know, God doesn't get anything from anybody, you know? And when I said it, people were saying that I was crazy, I was egoing out, you know, and this and that. And then there's a book came out called Thunder of Drums. When that came out, it told these stories. And it told about when John Bonham came back from playing with Vanilla Fudge, how gaga he was about meeting me. And he was hanging out with Cozy Powell, telling him the stories, hanging out with me. So they were both like gaga about, you know, hanging out with me. You know, and I didn't know anything about that until this book came out, you know. And after that book came out, it told in there how, you know, with that being said, that he actually did listen to me and that I was an influence on him.
Well, you might know him in New York. I studied with Joe Casadas. Remember Joe Casadas?
Yeah, I know Joe. Yeah.
I studied with him, and he used to say, "We're all stews anyway. We're all a bunch of a little of this, a little of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Stir it all up together." But from now on, I'm going to all my students that mention it for me to teach it to them. We'll be calling it the Carmine Appice triplets. Okay, that's
There
what.
you go. That's fine.
No longer John Bonham triplets. So then after Vanilla Fudge, is that when Beck, Bogart,
No, I did Cactus then.
Cactus comes next?
Yeah. It was going to be the group with Jeff, and then Rod Stewart didn't want to work with Jeff, and then Jeff got in a car wreck, put him back 18 months, so we broke up Vanilla Fudge. So what do you want to do? Let's put another super group together, and we got Rusty Dave from Amboy Dukes and Jim McCarty from the Detroit Wheels. You know?
Oh, right.
And we put Cactus together, and we did well, and that influenced a lot of groups too.
I've jammed with Jim McCarty several times here in Michigan. We've jammed at a couple.
Jam, he's a great player, but he doesn't leave Detroit area anymore.
So how does when in your career does because by the way, it's another great album, is the Beck Bogart Appice album. The version of Superstition on that is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And we did that before. Superstition was written for Jeff by Stevie for Return the Favor for Jeff playing on his album, you know. And the version that Jeff originally had was like what Stevie Wonder released. But when we did BBA, he said, well, let's change it. Let's make it more us, you know. And we played it the way we played it. Even some of the lyrics are different. But before. We got our version out, Motown heard Stevie's version that was given to Jeff and said, "You've got to release that." And they released it, and it came #1. So when our album came out, it became like a cover, but it wasn't a cover. It was written for Jeff.
Wow. That's news here. That I didn't know. Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
that's really cool. How long was Beck, Bogart, and Appice together? How long did that last?
Well, we started getting together in like summer of '72 until January '74. Wasn't long,
All right, all right. So,
but we left a mark.
how long that? And I mean, I know you did a lot of things in between, but obviously one of the big things is your Rod Stewart connection. And I just realized doing the research on you is that you are listed as a co-writer for Do You Think I'm Sexy?
And Young Turks.
And Young Turks, right, right. So how does that come to be, the Rod Stewart connection? Had you known him already?
Oh yeah, we used to do gig. We did, first of all, he was supposed to be in the group with me and Jeff, so we knew him from those days. You know, when he was in the Jeff Beck group, we knew all those guys. You know, we did gigs with him, we knew him. We had the same attorney, you know, it's the same attorney as Rascals. It was all the same thing. So in those days, everybody knew everybody, you know. So we knew Rod, and when we did Cactus, we did, I don't know, 30, 40 shows with the Faces, you know. We got to know Rod. We used cars and hotel rooms and trucks and airplanes, and you know, we did all that damaging stuff together. And I knew him. And then I was living in LA. I met my friend Sandy Gennaro on the street, and I said, "What are you doing, Sandy?"
By the way, Sandy's been on my show.
Yeah, Sandy's a good guy. And so I said, "So what are you doing?" "I just auditioned for Rod." I go, "How'd it go?" He goes, "I didn't get it." He said, "You should do it." I said, "No, okay." I had a group called KGB that used to have Mike Bloomfield in it. It was probably the low point of my career, that was. And then, so I was ready to move on to something else. So I said, "Who'd you call?" He says, "I called this guy, Pete." So he gave me the number. I said, "Pete Buckler." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I know Pete. He's the tour manager of the Faces. We used to wreck hotels together." So I called Pete and I said, "Pete, I heard Rod's looking for a drummer. You don't call me?" He said, "Oh, you're always busy." He said, "Oh, wow." I said, I'd love to play with Rod. I love Rod. You know, I love his voice and everything. And he was doing good. You know, he's had his hit records on his own. So he said, I'll tell Rod." So he calls Rod, and he calls me back. Rod was in London. So Pete calls me back, said, "Look," Rod said, "go to his house. And the band is over there that he's put together so far, and they're looking for a drummer. And check it out. See if you like it." So that was a switch. Instead of me auditioning, I was going to check out the band. I said, "Okay." So I figured, well, I'm going to Rod's house. I'm going to take a good car. So I took my Pantera, you know. I drove to Rod's house, big gates, living next door to Gregory Peck, the movie star. You know, it's an unbelievable house. As soon as I drove into the house, I saw Pete. I got out. I said to myself, "I want to play in this guy's band. You know, I want to live this lifestyle, you know."
Right.
And then I knew Phil Chen from doing Blow by Blow that I recorded on. And I knew Jim Cregan from a show I did in London with Ian Pace and a bunch of other guys. So we sat down, we played, and it rocked. And Rod came back in town, and we played with Rod, and it rocked. And he said, "Look, you got the gig if you want it. Just play like you did in Cactus. I'll give you a solo every night. I know you have fans." I said, "Great, let's go." That was it.
By the way,
And we just played together.
I use with my students, I use hot legs to teach them all those little triples at the end that you do.
Max Roach fills.
Yeah. I use that to teach them how that boogadelic, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
How that's been used in jazz. Elvin Jones used it. Bonham used it. Carmine, and how it worked.
well, Bonham got it from what I did. I used to do it in Vanilla Fudge.
Right. The co-writing, how does that come to be with Rod? Did you guys have writing sessions?
Rod was a fair guy. He would come in and say, "Hey, I want a song like Missing You from the Rolling Stones." I said, "Okay." So, I majored in music in high school. I played keyboard, bass, and guitar a bit, just enough to write songs. So I went home with a drum machine. I put this idea down. Went to my buddy Dwayne's house, had a little studio with keyboards and bass, and we put down a good demo. Rod loved it, and Dwayne got involved. He was another co-writer, you know. And then it went to #1. It was the biggest selling song Rod ever had. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, great song.
And before it sounded like it does now. It sounded big fat drums, big fat guitars. No, everything else wasn't on it. Just Rod, the guitars, a keyboard, bass, and drums. And then Tom Dow put all these other things on it, an orchestra and chicks singing harmonies and this and that, and Tom Scott and David Foster. Before you know it, everything shrunk and became what it is. But hey, couldn't complain. It went to #1 in, I don't know, 10 or 12 countries and sold millions and millions of copies and made millions and millions of dollars as a song. And then the next one he wanted was a new wave kind of song, modern. So we wrote Young Turks, and I didn't even play on it. I used an Oberheim drum machine. I programmed it, and I played hi-hat and cymbals because the hi-hat and cymbals on the drum machine sucked. And we used that on the title track, Tonight I'm Yours, and on Young Turks. Young Turks went to #4 all around the world.
That's great. So after Rod Stewart, so when does the Ozzy thing happen when you start working with Ozzy?
After Rod was Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent, okay.
Yeah, because we did an American Music Awards, and I saw Ted was on it, and we were playing, I don't know what song, maybe Young Turks or Passion or something. Ted came up and he said, "Look, when you're done playing this wimpy rock, you want to play a man's rock, give me a call."
That sounds like Ted Nugent.
Yeah. So we're good friends. Like today, Ted's going to do an interview for my Guitars Years project. That's coming. That 25th anniversary came out today. This video was released today. You know, so I went with Ted. So I did Ted from 1982, and then '83 I did a record with Rick Derringer. And I started doing things more with my own name with somebody like Appice. DNA was Derringer and Appice. You know, with Derringer. And after that, we did another Vanilla Fudge record. Then I did Ozzy. Then after Ozzy, when Sharon fired me and said, "Your name's too big, you should start your own band," then I started King Cobra. That was my band.
Right, King Cobra was your thing.
But in those years, I was asked to join Rainbow, and I couldn't do it, you know, because I was signed to another record deal. With King Cobra, I was asked to do that big, huge Whitesnake record. I couldn't do it because I was signed to Capitol Records with my own snake, King Cobra. And then after that, we did Blue Murder, which was an amazing record, you know, amazing band, and it didn't do everything. And then the '90s came, and with the '90s, the grunge came in, and we were like dinosaurs.
Let's talk about your brother for a minute. So when does the drum war thing start happening, and how does that come to be? Was that
Well, it started happening. Vinnie was playing. You know, I recognized that he was a good, talented player. I sent him for drum lessons when he was like, I don't know, 8 or 9. You know, so he got really good. Then he ended up with Rick Derringer, ended up playing with John Lennon, played with Sabbath and all that stuff. And then in 1988, we did a drum clinic tour together. And everybody was saying, "Is it Appice or Appice? It's Appice or Appice?" So I had a video company, instructional video called Power Rock. I had my clinic video, and I had different videos of different people. So we did a Drum Wars video. It was a goof on, it was a comedy kind of video. It was a goof on the fact that Appice or Appice, whoever wins the drum battle wins the name. You know, and we went around with different people. It was just a comedy, you know. And at the end, my older brother gets on the phone and said, "They're both wrong. It's Appice." That's the so they made the whole video invalid. You know, by the end. We had it done like a news show. We had somebody from Eyewitness News in LA as the host going around talking to people like a news show, you know. And then from that, I said, you know, we should maybe do a clinic like that, you know.
Yeah.
So we did these clinics, then we went on, and then we did appearances for the video, did some drum battle stuff, you know. And then, I don't know, I copied the name Drum Wars before that. So I always thought it was a cool name.
Yeah.
And then I don't know when it was, 2010, when Ronnie died, I said, why don't we test the waters? Let's do it as a show. Let's do it as a clinic. So we did one at a clinic in upstate New York, and we did a show in California. And both of them did well. So then we started doing some clinics as Drum Wars, the Peace Brothers Drum Wars Clinic. And then we started doing a show called Drum Wars. And then the show was started to develop. Then we did a whole tour of Europe as Drum Wars. That's when we really put it together. We had 20 shows. That's when we realized we needed less drum things and more songs with drums in it.
Right, right.
And then we put together the running order of show, Black Sabbath songs, Dio songs, Rod songs, Ozzy songs, Cactus and Blue Murder, put it all together in one show with 2 drummers. And then we did some drum things in the show, but not all drum things,
Right.
and that's when the show started packing out houses. It was like a tribute to our career, So now we're still doing it.
I've watched a bunch of them online. They're just so cool, the Drum Wars. Now let's get to what you're doing right now with Fernando Perdomo, right? That's what's
Perdomo, yep.
So how does
that's an
that?
instrument. Well, it's an instrumental album that was. I got a call from Tom Dowd's wife and daughter telling me about this guy, Fernando. And basically, I just set up a studio in Florida where I moved, and I needed things to do. I'd done 3 or 4 things, but when he called, I said, well, let me. I'm thinking to myself, I could use this guy to learn how to run my studio, and develop the drum sound, which I did. And so I sent him a track that I wrote on my iPad. And like I said, I play all different instruments. I wrote things, sent it to him. He sent me back, embellished with himself. In a click, I put drums on it. We mixed it. It sounded great. I sent him another one. It was great. He sent me one. It was really good. It was a little Havana, Latin kind of thing. I put this fast Cactus shuffle at the end. He played guitar on it, and it sounded great. So then I sent him some drum tracks, and the new single "Flower Child" was a drum track I sent him, and he put the music to it, and so we started writing songs like that. So in the end, we had 18 songs.
Wow.
And I said, let's get a record deal out. Let's get a record. So I talked to my buddies at Cleopatra, and we put the deal together. And we picked 12 songs. And we did the first video, Rocket to the Sun. And then we did the second video the same day. And that second video came out 2 days ago. It was premiered on the Gold Mine magazine. And it was great. The whole record came out great. Now we have 6 songs recorded already for the next album.
Right.
And he's a talented guy. He's an amazing player. He plays bass, guitar, and keyboard, and drums. We're gonna do some gigs. I don't know when or how. I think we might release another record, so there's somewhat of a repertoire,
Right.
And then maybe when the next record comes out, we'll do some major city gigs, like in Detroit. Maybe do the Magic Bag, and do maybe LA. Do the what was that place down there that I forgot the name of the jazz rock club in New York? We can do something here, like the Iridium in Florida, do the Funky Biscuit, do maybe a handful of shows and just fly around and do it,
Mr. Carmine Appice, you have been one of my heroes for a very, very, very long time.
No, thank you.
Just not only copy.
We got to add you to the list on Wikipedia.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, and
Let's go.
the book. Are you any more updates coming on Ultimate?
I have all my catalog coming out of Modern Drummer digitally and everything. Even my hi-hat book, which is amazing. The hi-hat book's amazing. I had to go out of print because it was too expensive to print, because it's a bass drum and snare drum, 30 pages of bass drum and snare drum.
Oh, wow.
And then it has overlays that go over it, like the Chapin book with cutouts.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and each overlay has 4 different hi-hat things. So you go through the whole book with one overlay, go over to the whole book with the second overlay, and there's 30 overlays. But now they're downloadable. So you download them as you need them, and you cut them out and put them over the book. So
that's a good idea.
Easier to buy.
That's a good idea. I mean, I love even when you added the linear drumming stuff to the other thing. That was fantastic.
That's really great stuff.
I mean, in my own solo,
combination date.
In my own solos, I do a lot of 5 and 7s, which I just got from you, just taking that and making it Glenn's version. But
well, I got it from Rick Gratton, who did Rick Slicks, but he didn't know how to explain it well. So when we did his video for my company, I had him explain it this way. And I broke it down. I said, this is how you have to teach it to make people understand it. Because he didn't know how to do it. And so then I said, well, I'm going to use it in my book because it was my idea to break it down like that. And I use it a lot. I still use it. My brother Vinnie uses it,
There's one thing I want to mention before we end it, because I found out about it online. I thought it was really cool. May 23rd, 1981, Carmine Appice Day in LA.
Yep.
Little Kids Rock. This is really cool. Talk about that whole program. Did you start that?
Well, it wasn't Little Kids Rock. That was my drum off. I started with Guitar Center drum off. I started that. I did 5 years of it. The whole concept was mine. The judging sheet was mine. Everything was mine. That one, on that day, we had it in the park in LA. We had 10,000 people there. And my guest judge was Buddy Rich, as well as all the great drummers of the day. Mayan Grumbacher, Bruce Crump from Molly Hatchet, Bruce Gary from the Knack, REO's guy, Michael DeRocha from Hart, my brother Vinnie, Mayan Grumbacher, all the drummers of the day, Jocko from Sha Na Na, and Buddy Rich. And at the end, we all took 4s, and nobody would take the 4 after Buddy. I did. I'll do it.
Good for you.
Then I flew in a helicopter with Buddy to his gig at Disneyland for Eyewitness News. It was all about the promotion. Eyewitness News was involved. Right. It was a great big thing. So Carmine Appice Day was part of the promotion that my manager put together. And then in the helicopter, Buddy turned to the camera, Eyewitness News. He goes, "This is my friend Carmine Appice. He's a great drummer. What do I know?" And we became friends.
That's great. That's great.
When Buddy did the Muppet Show, that was my idea.
Oh,
I wanted to do it.
That's very cool.
My manager pitched them on it, and they came back with good news and bad news. Good news, we're going to use the idea. Bad news, we're using Buddy Rich. So I called Buddy, and he said, "How do you know?" And nobody was supposed to know. I said, "Because it was my idea."
I understand for the show's finale, you want me to do some kind of a drum battle.
Oh, yeah, I just love drum battles.
Okay, who do I battle? The other guy, the one that loses.
Animal.
Animal, that's really his name.
Easy Animal.
He looks like a sore loser.
But he
So
did.
you got to spend some time with Buddy toward the end, right?
I did. Yeah. We were going to do an album, Buddy Rich and Carmine Appice back to back.
Oh,
right?
that
I
would
was
be
going to play with
great.
a big band. He was going to play with a rock group, and Stanley Clark was going to produce it. But we can never get our schedules together to do it.
Oh, now that's the album you wish could have been, because
That would have been, I wish.
that
for.
would have been
If
incredible.
anyone said, you know what, I'm going to think about that, because anybody ever says, they say to me, is there something that you wanted to do that you never got to do? That's it.